whole new thing now that I'm seeing that she's got all this talent. When they asked me to do this show, that's the first that popped out of my mouth before you finished telling me what it was about. Well, we're gonna go to Constance next. What would you like to say to her? I'm ready to hit the road again. Are you ready to hit the road again? we got some unfinished things to do. We was right in the middle of recording some of the shows live.
High prices along the large number of satellite cities, whereas the plant city.
George Clinton, architect of Parliament Funkadelic, thank you so much for talking with us. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. And we'll talk with Constance Howman on the next episode of Play It Forward. You're listening to All Things Considered.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Total Wine and More, where in-store teams can recommend a bottle of wine, spirit, or beer for any occasion. Shoppers can explore more than
Pam and Megan, you're now co-hosts.
More at totalwine.com. From Little Hospitals.
Thank you.
Yes, to keep kids engaged this summer. They'll explore private and build a volcano and submarine from the kitchen table. More at Little Passports.
I just noticed the fingernails. Are they blue?
Who, mine?
Yes.
Yeah, they've been like that. You haven't been paying attention to my nails.
Did you murder a Smurf?
They were actually glittered.
Oh, I missed that. What the hell have I been doing?
I don't know. Ah. Missed the toes too. They're blue glitter too.
Oh, wow.
No attendees yet.
We've got 2 board members at the moment.
Yeah. Wait till everybody has to start showing up in person.
Yeah, I'm real disappointed by that.
I know, I kind of like this.
Yeah, I'm totally on board for the virtual. I feel like this is one of the times where people are more likely to appear than if you were to have the meeting in person.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to start the broadcast so people can join. Except for the cat. The cat has to stay.
We have to wait for everybody else.
We have 1 attendee, 2 attendees, 3.
Oh, here they come. Oh, she's up. Oh, why is Joyce in? Okay.
You've moved her though, right? Yeah.
Megan must have.
Live from NPR News, I'm James. January 6th attack at the Capitol. Senate Mitch McConnell says he will oppose the plan.
I don't know.
Okay, I am signing out.
Okey doke. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello. Okay. Laura, Bonnie, Stephanie, Joyce. Okay. Well, there is a quorum.
Megan, are we expecting Joanne and Drew?
Joanne did say she's not going to be able to make
Hmm.
it. I haven't heard from.
Okay, I cannot hear you. Pam, can you speak?
She said that Joanne
Okay,
She couldn't make
something's
it?
wrong with my audio. Hold on. Okay, I can't hear anybody. I'm going to leave and come back in. I can hear noise now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
could hear you before.
You could? I
Yeah.
couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear you folks. That was odd. All right. Let me go full screen. All right, it being 6:05 on Wednesday, May 19th, 2021, I call to order this meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission. And I will do a roll call attendance. Oh, let me just read. So, due to the ongoing public health response, and in response to the governor's declared state of emergency, this meeting is being held remotely in accordance with the governor's signed open meeting law order dated March 12th, 2020, which relieves the public body from the requirement of section 20 of chapter 30A that it conduct its meetings in a public space that is open and physically accessible to the public, provided that the public body makes provision to ensure public access. So we will be doing this over Zoom this evening. Those who wish to be heard for a particular hearing before the commission tonight, you will indicate so by raising your hand. If you're calling in, it will be *9 on your phone. Please know that we will hear from the applicant, our agent, and then the members of the commission before we recognize anyone from the public. Okay, the first item on the agenda is a request for minor change for 955 Belmont Street.
And
That Danielle, are you here for that?
I am. Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, Conservation Commission members and Agent Chavez. Danielle Dufault from Adler, Pollock and Sheehan on behalf of Colbia Enterprises LLC for matters 955 Belmont Street. As the commission is aware, Colbia had applied for a minor change to their plan, the landscape plan for 955 Belmont Street, which there was in question 3 mature trees that were to propose to remain at the property. And having spoken with Agent Chavez and after the demolition of the existing structures at the site, we discovered that number one of the mature trees that we believe was at the site was no longer at the site, and for however long that had been the case, we're not sure. And then two of the mature trees that existed at the easterly boundary of the property line needed to be moved. They couldn't remain because where we had proposed to replace and put the new USTs on the number one, to take them outside of the wetland boundary and to move them to the far easterly boundary property line. Those trees needed to be removed, and we would like to replace those trees with native species as set forth on our plan. But because of the root structures of the mature trees currently at the property, we would need to remove those trees to be able to put the USTs where the commission had approved them to be relocated to. So, and I believe we're presenting this as a minor change to the plan. So it would be, so it's 3 mature trees in question, one of which doesn't exist, and 2 of which we will replace those 2 mature trees. I'm not exactly positive of the specifications. They're set forth on the revised L1 sheet that we presented to the commission through Agent Chavez in April. But that's what we propose. And we also had offered, I think at the time, Colbia had proposed if there was any way to preserve those trees anywhere else in the city of Brockton, we would donate them. There was just no way to keep the mature trees and replant them because of the time between the demo and the rebuild. And so hopefully, I hope that the commission can approve this as a minor change to the plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission might have, Madam Chair.
All right, and I think at the last meeting, the board agreed that it would be a minor change, and I think there was, I don't think there was any dissent. Megan, do you have anything to add at this point?
No, I agree that I think it's could be considered a minor change given that the trees are outside of the 100-foot buffer zone and they are being replaced. And I think it's preferable that the USTs be placed as far away from the wetland as possible. And so in order to do that and keep them in their current location, that's why the trees need to be removed. So I think supplementing, I believe they're proposing red maples as the replacement planting trees. And so I think that what's shown on the plan doesn't require an amended order at this time.
Mm-hmm. But we will need to vote to accept the plan into the record. Okay, any other comments, questions from the commissioners? And I'm assuming there are no members of the public for this. Okay, so do I have a motion to accept the minor modification as presented on the plan into the record?
Sparks here, so moved.
Danielson second. And Laura?
Laura third.
Joyce?
Did we lose Joyce?
No, I think she's trying to unmute. Is that something you can do, Pam?
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Okay. Motion passes, and I did forget to take roll call. So we'll do that right now. We'll do a voice roll call. Stephanie Danielson here.
Bonnie Sparks
Laura?
here.
Okay, go ahead.
Laura here. Joyce Morris here.
Okay. Thank you very much, Danielle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, commission members. Thank you for your time.
The next item on the agenda is a request for certificate of compliance for 86 Melrose Avenue.
And we've had a request ahead of the meeting to continue this item to the June 16th meeting.
Megan, do you want to share with the commission why they're asking for the continuance?
Last I've heard, there is still, they're still trying to arrange between the builder and the homeowners to move the fence. The last I heard from Bill Self, who requested the continuance, the builder, the applicant is trying to arrange to have someone come out and move the fence. I believe that they're trying to make that appointment to have that person come out. And so at that point, it has not yet happened, but last I heard, they're trying to set up that appointment to have someone come out.
Okay. Is there anyone we have someone that looks like are you on a phone?
It looks like a phone, yes.
It's a Galaxy.
Okay, so can we?
Hello?
Yes.
They should be
Could you
allowed to
please-
talk.
Could you please identify yourself for the record?
Yes, Barry Smith.
Barry, remind us who you are.
One of the homeowners for 86 Melrose.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Do you want to speak?
Yeah. We was just we checking in and stuff. We're not sure why it's keep being continued like this. The issue of it is the part about the moving the fence. And I don't know how we're gonna keep continuing this because they're not trying to budge with us on this. And clearly at the last meeting, he stated that it was his landscape guy that mismanaged the measurement of the land. And he wants us to.
Well, what Ms. Schaaf just said was that they're making arrangements to have the fence moved, I believe at the builder's expense.
No, he didn't. No, he trying to make us pay for it. Yeah. No, he's trying to make us pay for it.
Okay.
We don't know how far, we're going to keep continuing on this one. Yeah.
Well, the fence, the commission indicated at the last meeting that the fence needs to be moved.
Mm-hmm.
And it was our understanding, that's what I thought, Megan, that the builder was going to have it moved.
That was at least my understanding. I believe at the end of, before it was continued last meeting, I believe it was Drew who recommended that the builder take responsibility and help make it right with the homeowner. That was my understanding of how it was going forward. In terms of the correspondence I received on behalf of the applicant, the request to continue just said that they're waiting for the fence company to schedule to come out and move the fence. So again, my understanding was that the builder was making that arrangement.
And your communications were with the builder and obviously
Most
not
recently,
Mr.
yes.
Smith. Yes.
Most recently.
Mr. Smith, I think at this time we will continue. And
Okay.
I would suggest maybe you reach out to the builder and confirm what Megan has shared with us this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I have a motion to continue to the 16th?
Sparks here. I make a motion to continue 86 Melrose to June 16th.
Do I have a second?
Boris, second.
All in favor, Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Boris, aye. Laura, aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a request for certificate of compliance for 2020 Main Street. Do we have someone here for that one? Oh, we have someone with their hand up. Stephanie Hoban. Ms.
Yes.
Hoban, are you,
Oh,
I
she's
believe she
going,
represents Strong Point, who is the
Okay.
engineer for.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Stephanie Hoban. I am from Strong Point Engineering. I'm here on behalf of our client, the Nathan Realty Trust. So we have put in an application for the for an RCOC based on the work from our order of conditions at 2020 Main Street, which is Shoe City Auto. So we have, we submitted the original request for the certificate of compliance in February, and the agent had come back with some comments after a site walk in March, and the client has finally finished all of the work as asked by the client, the conservation agent. So basically, we've done all the work in the order of conditions. The other requested comments were that there needed to be appropriate markers and boulders along the edge to delineate, make sure the cars don't go over. They have been placed, and the markers have been put in, approximately 11 markers, and scroll to that. Sorry, I'm looking off to the side. That's where my plans are on the other monitor. Hold on one second. It is, so we've installed 33 boulders and 11 conservation markers. Our wetland scientist has gone out and provided a report stating that the shrubbery is all alive and leafing as it should be. He did note that there were some invasive species that need to be removed by hand. And that the Cape Cod berm also needed to be fixed and installed in certain spots, and to keep everything from hitting sedimentation from hitting the buffer zone restoration area, and that has also been done. And we have submitted the photos and report to the Conservation Commission. So we feel that the work has been done satisfactorily. And
Okay, so you feel you're ready for the commission to vote?
yes.
Megan, do you want to comment?
Sure. I can just confirm, yes, that my comments have been addressed. I did note the added comment from the wetland scientist about the regrowth of Japanese knotweed and garlic mustard. So I do think there's been enough work done to grant a certificate of compliance. I would recommend adding a continuing condition that requires that the regrowth of the Japanese knotweed and garlic mustard shall be hand pulled, placed in trash bags, and properly disposed of. And I would recommend that that continue to be done on a yearly basis.
Yep. We have no issues with that as a condition.
Okay. One of my comments is that I would probably prefer issuing a partial certificate of compliance with the same condition that Megan just mentioned, but also adding that the the new plantings and the invasive species be monitored for a 2-year period. 1, to make sure that the plantings continue to succeed, and 2, to make sure that the invasive species are being controlled. And then after that 2-year period, if everything looks great, a full certificate of compliance could be issued. Other members of the commission wish to comment? Okay. There doesn't look like there's anyone from the public. Do I have a motion?
Sparks here. I'll make a motion to issue a partial order of compliance and include the continuing condition of hand pulling the knotweed and garlic mustard on a yearly basis with a 2-year monitoring period for all new plantings as well as the upkeep of invasive species.
Is there a second?
Forrest, second.
All in favor, Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Forrest, aye.
Eclair, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is 11 Wilbur Avenue, and this is a request for certificate of compliance. And if you folks would identify yourselves for the record.
Madam Chair, Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering. And Michael Heichel is the developer, owner of the lot. He's there as well, probably struggling to hit the unmute button. Anyways, I'll jump on it, Madam Chair. We're requesting a certificate of compliance on 11 Wilbur Ave. Everything is done according to plan. We made a small field change in excavating the foundation. They had not even boulders, basketball-sized rocks that they dug out. Michael put them probably 10 feet or so behind the house just to cut down on the slope of the grading. So he's got a little bit of a, really it's just a 12-inch stone retaining wall that he just reused the stones. It actually kind of reduced the amount of fill brought on the site. The grade up to the silt sock remains the same. Everything else, house is in the proper location. I believe everything is according to plan, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Megan, do you have anything to add?
Sure. So I can confirm, yes, the house is the same size and in the same location as proposed. As is already stated, there is about a foot tall retaining wall of that line of boulders along the limit of fill and regrading. Otherwise, the grading seems fairly consistent to the plan of record, with maybe about a foot difference if you compare the as-built to the approved plan in some locations of the grading. The site has been loamed and seeded, and there is already substantial grass growth, and the permanent limit of work markers have been installed along the 25-foot boundary. So based on that, again, the retaining wall, the boulders are the only notable difference, but other than that, I would say they have met the plan to receive their the certificate of compliance.
Okay. The one comment I had, Scott, Megan shared pictures that she took.
Yes.
And it looks to me like the boulders that are placed there is plenty of room for the fill material to migrate through. And I would prefer to see a more finished retaining wall there. Something, and I'm calling them lock blocks, but that's not, I don't think that's the proper term, but something that just finishes it off and will really hold that back.
Mm. I'm sure, you know, I'm sure in this case where it's, the work is already done, I don't know that, you know, Michael is going to, realistic is going to want to rip out those rocks and I guess either put in the Versalock retaining wall. I don't know that that's all that feasible at this point, Madam Chair. I mean, if that was the case, he'd probably be better off just I hate to give any answer, especially with him there. I'd be interested if he
Well,
can.
if Mr. Heichel would like to speak,
I mean, like I said, with the grass growing, he's really babied the lawn at this point with watering it every morning and, I
right,
think.
the grass growth looks very healthy.
Yeah.
I don't, so we'll try to get Michael to be able to speak. Do any of the other commissioners have any comments?
Let me see if I can grab him.
Oh, his microphone just
Beautiful.
disappeared, so,
No,
whatever you did, Michael, do it again. There. Now can you speak?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm on my phone. Sorry, I don't have access to my computer. Yeah, the reason why, excuse me, the stone wall was put there because at the time we couldn't get a regular size cinder block wall to go around because the height of the grading itself wouldn't accommodate because it was so close to the corner of the house. We try to justify it by presenting it, make it presentable, I should say, and it seems like it's worked. And we put the crushed stone back there between the stone wall and the house. That way, it would also prevent for any more erosion of going through there. And it has stabilized itself, by the way. So that's the best we could do with it.
How long has it been in place?
Oh gosh, at least I'd say 4 months
Okay.
since we
Megan,
started the house.
Could you
We
bring
have
up the
foundation.
picture?
Yes, let me see if I can. Let me bring up photos and then I can share the screen. Okay, let me find one of the. Okay. Let me share. Okay, can we see the photo?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And I can scroll through if they want to see another photo.
Michael, can I ask why you didn't grade that out and slope it?
Because of the height of the foundation. When we put in the foundation itself, we hit a certain water table, and we have to meet the 4-foot frost line, and that's why that height had to be established to maintain that 4-foot frost wall. They call it a knee wall in the back.
Right. That wasn't my question. My question is why didn't you grade out the slope to match the grade of the lawn?
I guess we could have, but I was worried about, it's not so much the back, it's when we go around the bend, it's about 5 feet away from the silt fence. And I just thought that if we brought that grade out, it would have definitely impeded on that. It's not so much in the back, but more so to the side.
That's where it is. That standing in Wilbur Ave, the back right-hand corner of the house / deck is, as Michael said, it's probably 5 feet from the deck to the silt sock limit of work. So, I think Michael's feeling was doing the retaining wall would mean less grading and less of a chance of any kind of, breakout or erosion issues, and it would give them essentially a flat backyard area as opposed to a sloped backyard area. So I think speaking to him, I'm assuming he figured he was making it better by doing this, by decreasing the amount of fill and decreasing the slope, especially in that corner where it's only 5 feet.
Megan, do we have access to do the draw thing? I don't see it. It's usually something up at the top of the screen. Okay.
I'd have to open it
Yeah.
maybe in a editor. I don't know how quickly.
No,
it would work.
that's okay. Yeah, no, we don't need to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I
how
know.
quickly that would work.
I think maybe it's meeting mode that you can do that. But
Okay.
if, Megan, maybe you can use your cursor and follow the, oh my God, I want to say pull, that's not the right word. The leg of the deck straight down, and then just to the left, that large rock. I mean, that's kind of a big gap, it looks like from here. And that's what I'm concerned with. And if this were entirely under the deck, maybe it wouldn't be as big a problem or concern to me. But knowing.
So if I may, those rocks are basically locked. There's not much space between them. It looks at that angle, it looks like there is, but there really isn't. If you're looking at it straight, they overlap. If you looked at it straight, we try to fit them as perfect as best as possible, and there is no breakout in any of these rocks.
What is the fill material?
That's why it's maintained itself.
Yeah, Michael, what's the fill material? Because it looks coarse.
No, that on the top of it is crushed stone.
Okay.
And the dirt it's dirt underneath, but it's crushed stone, so you can actually walk on it under the deck.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Without having to maintain it, as far as having grass, and I was just worried about runoff when if the dirt itself or a heavy rain would wash out into the silt. So I try to maintain that, isolate it from the rest of the yard, so it's makes sense.
Okay. I'm just, Megan, you were out there, you saw it. I'm going to defer to your observation.
Yeah, so when I was out there, I thought it was a clean looking site, looking at the retaining wall. Again, it sounds like it's been up for a few months. I didn't see any breakthrough of the underneath fill when I was out there. Again, I can't speak for years from now, but during my site inspection, it looked like a clean site. And
all the markers are in place?
Yes, the markers are along the silt sock and the silt fence there.
Okay, I don't have any further questions or comments. You can release the screen. Any comments, questions from the other commission members? And it doesn't look like we have anyone from the public. So do I have a motion?
This is to grant.
They're looking for a full certificate of compliance.
And so I guess my only question, this would be for you, Stephanie, would you, or is it possible that you could do like a 1-year monitoring and then see if your fear comes to fruition, then something like a outdoor caulking could be used if there's any leaking spots as an added option, because it seems like something that's a very small thing that could be viewed with very little issue or effort that would give you some relief of concern.
I mean, that could be an ongoing condition, and that an inspection be done for, say, maybe 2 years.
Because the fix wouldn't be that hard. Like if there was some breakthrough in certain areas, then it could be easily dealt with.
We could. I have to say, after hearing from Megan, when I looked at this quickly today, this is the picture I looked at, and I saw that big triangular gap.
Oh, yeah, the shadow.
Right, right. And I understand, and it sounds like from what Mr. Heichel is saying is that probably the back of that rock, there isn't that gap. And the fact that it's been in place for 4 months, we've had some heavy rainfall during the course of that time. So I'm okay with it.
So I can make a motion to issue a certificate of
Certificate.
completion for 11 Wilbur Ave.
Do I have a second?
I second Forrest.
All in favor, Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Forrest, aye.
Where I.
Thank you very much. Motion passes.
Thank you, folks. Good night.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, aren't you still here?
No,
Scott?
Yeah, I
It's
request
not.
continuances on both, Madam Chair.
Okay,
Yeah, we just got reports back from Beta, so it's gonna take us a while to go through them and get our revisions back to your agent and to Beta on both.
okay, so that's 940 Belmont Street. Do I have a motion to continue to the next meeting, which is June 16th? Is that what you said, Megan?
Yes.
Sparks here. I make a motion to continue 940 Belmont Street to June 16th.
Do I have a second?
Forrest,
Oh, that was fast. Thank you. All in favor, Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Where I.
Forrest, aye.
Motion passes. Do I have a motion to continue 135 Elliott Street? Now, is one of these a new opening, a new hearing?
No, they've been open.
Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Oh, it's the next one that's new. Okay, do I have a motion to continue 135 Elliott Street to June 30th? I mean, 16th.
June 16th.
Sparks here. I make a motion to move 135 Elliott Street to continue to June 16th.
Do I have a second?
Forrest, second.
All in favor, Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Forrest, aye.
Where I.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. Good night.
Good night. The next item on the agenda is a notice of intent for lot 84 Thatcher Street. And after you are unmuted, could you please identify yourselves for the record or self?
Good evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes with ECR representing this notice of intent filed for lot 84 Thatcher Street. We've filed a notice of intent for a proposed single-family home at this lot. The property contains a bordering vegetative wetland that we've delineated, which is within the northern portion of the property. The wetland accepts street water drainage along the northerly most portion of the wetland and travels to the south. The edge of the buffer zone is dominated with Japanese knotweed, and then that ranges into a more of a kind of parking area driveway and openness that's utilized by the adjacent property. What we proposed is a single family home with associated driveway and grading and utilities within the buffer zone. We have proposed a retaining wall along the 25-foot buffer zone to ensure that there aren't any site work in that area consisting of the grading and the proposed house and the driveway. We did get a chance to go through conservation agent report, and we haven't been able to respond to that, but we do plan to respond to that. And we will be providing you with some additional information towards those points that Megan brought up. So as an introduction, that's the purpose of this project, or the purpose of my introduction to you for the presentation. Again, a single family home within the buffer zone. So I'll take any questions you may have.
Okay, Megan, do you want to add anything? I know you have several recommendations in your report.
Yes, so my recommendations are pretty similar to recommendations I've made previously for sites like this where a house with a full foundation and associated grading is being proposed within a few feet of the limit of work at the 25-foot buffer, and then with proposed grading and the retaining wall proposed up to the limit of work. As I've put in reports for similar projects, I do have concerns about the construction sequencing and the ability to stockpile, fill and backfill on a site like this to maintain the orderly management of backfill and heavy equipment on sites like this. And so at this time, I would recommend some additional information showing a stockpile area for where the backfill or any brought in fill is going to go. I would like to see sufficient clearance for the equipment maneuvering. I tend to recommend that, you know, a corner of a house or a side of a house be proposed 15 feet or more from the limit of work in order to accommodate an excavator and other potential equipment. And if that's not possible, again, I recommend providing information to demonstrate sufficient clearance or excavating that foundation, and how the limit of work and the erosion control barrier can be maintained throughout all steps of the construction. And also, again, when proposing a when proposing a full foundation, I think we like to see the groundwater elevation determined ahead of time, and that a dewatering plan be provided if it's anticipated that it will be needed. And then finally, in this case, I'm recommending that the professional engineer who designed this plan add their stamp and signature as required, because that is essentially what's going to certify that the proposed grading and site work details are going to be feasible. And also in this case of this project, as Brad said, there is substantial Japanese knotweed already in the wetland and in the buffer zone. So I believe Brad is proposing a management plan that involves herbicide application. So I recommended that the commission determine now what is their preferred method of invasive plant removal. Do they want mechanical? Are you going to allow herbicide application? And then also, how far would you want that management to extend? Would you want it to stop at the limit of work of the 25-foot, or would you want it to extend and remove invasive plants from the 25 foot and so on? And so just to get ahead of it, I've included the same sort of special conditions that I've been recommending for sites like this, that if the commission receives the information to show that, you know, the construction and the site plan is feasible on paper, once we get to that point, I would reiterate that I would like to see the extra special conditions that will add additional monitoring and additional safeguards to make sure that that limit of work is maintained.
Okay, thank you. Brad, why couldn't the house be shifted to the left a little bit more?
I believe there's a zoning setback on that. Well, I have to get you some more detail. As I said, we will be responding to Megan's comments. One aspect here is that 25-foot buffer here is a buffer. It's a line on the plan, but it's nothing to be saved. So it may be that we propose working in that area to remove the knotweed maybe excavate that and come back with a revegetation plan. And that maybe that allows us the ability to work around for construction access to get in and around the building or proposed building, and then also make some modifications to the design, which we'll be coming back to you with. But to keep a undisturbed buffer on this site is basically just promoting a degraded condition. So I think what we could do is come up with a plan that comes back to you with an improved buffer zone, some more details on the Japanese knotweed management, but also allows us use in that area to get around during construction and then come back with a improvement.
Okay, so
We'll
that
be
would
working on that and
restore-
coming back to you.
All right, and in that instance, then the buffer would be restored right up to the edge of the house, that corner, essentially.
Right now
If
it's
I-
all debris and Japanese knotweed. So
Yeah,
I think we can come up with something that works for the commission and also works with the applicant.
okay. That sounds reasonable to me, to wait for that. Any other questions, comments, concerns from the other commissioners?
Only a comment. I think if you don't get rid of the knotweed as far as possible into that zone, I think it will just be there the following year. It'll be right back.
It's one lot at a time. Correct.
Yeah.
So, and this is just, I do see a lot of success with if you're planning on excavating anyway, they say 3 to 5 feet down to lift for knotweed if you don't want to use herbicides, and then cover with the heavy black plastic, and it'll cause the roots to rot. So if you've got, I don't know what the timeline on this home is, but if you've got, a year or two where you're going to be working, if you can get that knotweed dealt with sooner rather than later, you'll have more success going forward with fighting it. Especially, like I said, if you don't want to be using the herbicides that close to the wetlands.
Yeah. Well, I forgot that Megan had asked that question, so I'm going to weigh in on that. I do not like using herbicides. And I think the mechanical method is,
With
I prefer the mechanical method.
especially with knotweed, it's actually far more expensive to do herbicides anyway, because you need to inject individually every single cane with a measured amount of poison in order to actually kill the roots. So knotweed is incredibly noxious, which is why I suggest if you can lift it sooner, like I said, 3 to 5 feet down has to be lifted of the root systems, which have to be properly disposed of. And then I don't know what the area is like, but some places do a burn and then cover it with that heavy black plastic for years. Some 3 to 5 years is what's recommended to actually kill the knotweed. But like I said, if you get it started and can get that done right away, then it'll make everything else it'll more likely to be successful.
Yeah, and then it's an ongoing. I will add this and then I won't go further, but my husband has actually managed to control the knotweed in our yard by doing that and pulling, not with the plastic, but by pulling it consistently year after year, and to the point where, there's very little of it out there. All right, if there are no other comments, I'd entertain a motion to continue to June 16th.
Parks here, I make a motion to move lot 84 Thatcher Street to June 16th.
Boris, second.
All in favor, Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Boris, aye.
Blair, aye.
Thank you. And we'll see
Thank you
you
very
on the
much.
16th. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night. All right, the next item on the agenda is a notice of intent for 634, 648 Summer Street. This is not opened, right, Megan?
No, so it has been continued while the applicant continues to work on the stormwater comments. And also we need to resolve the potential jurisdictional area that's an isolated vegetated wetland. So I spoke to the applicant's representatives today, and we are planning to hopefully do another site visit next week to try to sort out whether that wetland on this, that additional wetland on the site is jurisdictional, whether it's connected to the outfalls coming from the May Center. So based on that, they're requesting another continuance to the June 16th meeting.
Okay, do I have a motion to continue to June 16th? If we get many applications in between now and then, it looks like the 16th will be a busy meeting.
So Sparks here. I move to continue 634 to 648 Summer Street to the June 16th meeting.
For a second,
All in favor, Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Forrest, aye.
Buchler, aye.
Motion passes. And then the next item on the agenda is 132 Campanelli Industrial Drive. Okay, and if everyone would identify themselves for the record.
Good evening. My name is David Mackwell. I'm with Kelly Engineering Group. We prepared the documents before you. Also led into the meeting. I can see all the faces now. It's Pete Cameron with Marcus Partners. He's the applicant this evening, and also John Rockwood of Ecotech. He is the environmental scientist that identified the wetlands and will help us through the process.
Okay, is someone on your side going to talk about the project?
Yes. Are we good to open the public hearing and everything right now?
Yes, we've received the abutter notification.
Okay.
Scans, so the proof of mailing. So,
Yep.
and we've received, Mass DEP has issued their file number with a comment about their identified wetland change. So with that, we should be able to open the hearing.
All right. Well, great. Again, is in order to just to start off here, again, my name is David. What our goal is tonight is to introduce the project to the commission and then request a continuance, because we did receive our stormwater peer review today, and we also received the report from Megan earlier this week. And we will need just a little bit of time to address those, but I think I'd like to share my screen just to show everybody the project. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So can everybody see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the project, I want to try to get my blue cursor up here. I'm just going to leave that there. The project is located at 132 Campanelli Industrial Drive, which is located just down on this side is the Westgate Mall. Home Depot is, or not Home Depot, excuse me, Walmart is up over here. And this is a self-storage business and some more industrial buildings. The site is approximately 18 acres. Currently exists on the site is 300,000 square foot warehouse building with some office space. Currently, the site is improved with some substandard loading on the southern end, car parking on this end, and then there's some more car parking and trailer storage on the northern end. The northern end now is the subject of the pavement expansion, and is also the home of a current landscaping business. So the lines that we have colored on the plan here, the blue line furthest north and furthest east is the edge of the wetland identified by Ecotech. The wetland here is either bordering vegetated wetlands associated with an intermittent stream or the bank of the intermittent stream itself. It's the most furthest resource area away. The other three lines would be your 25-foot no disturb line, the 50-foot setback from wetlands, and 100-foot setback from wetlands. As I has gone through the existing site here, the applicant has the building leased, but it's going to be coming up for a new lease shortly. And they've been doing some market studies on what to do with the building and who the next tenant may be. And they hired Dacon Corporation and actually Kelly Engineering as well to do some concepts, and was determined that adding proper loading is the most important thing for this building. We have a 300,000 square foot building with we have some loading docks on this end, but there isn't quite enough room for the modern trucks to get in on this side, and we have the property line. So the application is to lower the grade on the northern side of the building and install loading docks and trailer storage, part of which would be in the 100-foot buffer zone. We put the plan together knowing that the Conservation Commission did have a 25-foot no disturb zone, and there's been some things here in the past. We did get a chance to fully read the agent's report, which is a very thorough report for the commission, to explain some of the history of the site and recommendations to move forward. So on the history of the site, I was able to dig through and I found some of the plans, and actually, if I zoom in here, I'm using a different Adobe reader. I'm at home and not at work, so I don't know exactly how to zoom in here for us. Let's see, marquee zoom, there we go. I go too far. So, I can't get it centered. New tools here.
Maybe if you close the left-hand side where you have the page thumbnails.
Sure, thank you. I think I zoomed in too much too, so we'll go back to here. And I will try to zoom in some more and get it a little bit better for us here. I'm going to zoom into this portion of the site. Okay, there we go. So I had mentioned in the previous report that there's been some previous things approved here, one of which was back in 2008 or so, and I actually found that plan and put it in this presentation. It just really shows the previous order of conditions that was issued maybe 12 years ago or so for this property was to expand the parking lot, but to change the use to a recreational use that would put car parking all over the site, and it was to propose more car parking in this area. Good Times Billiards wanted to move in at that time. That project unfortunately never went forward. But we did get a order of conditions, and were able to get the pavement expanded and some appropriate mitigation to make the pavement actually a little bit closer than we're going today, a little bit more than we've applied at this time. So I just want to zoom back in because I realized that my draftsman put that line on the plan and I want to explain where it came from. And I'll zoom back in. Okey-doke, right. So the purple line that we see here was the line that we had previously proposed a pavement expansion. So we see that we're a little bit inside that, but we also do know that the site does have an existing landscape tenant that has pushed some things around, and we note that there's a few infractions of storing some stumps, maybe some old clearing near the wetland. We have Ecotech here on the line today just to listen, but we kind of fully agree that the 25-foot no disturb zone can be restored here with a buffer zone enhancement plan to possibly remove invasives and plant some appropriate plants. We did put on our site plan to denote the 25-foot no disturb zone, as we didn't find any standard markings, but we could collect those from the commission or the staff to make sure that we put the appropriate markings up. In order to improve the drainage, we put a full drainage report together to mitigate the increase in impervious. The good news here is we get to bring a big portion of the site into current compliance with stormwater regulations. And we feel that we can work with the Beta Group to get an acceptable package for the stormwater and erosion control plans to accompany a project like this. So at this time, I don't think we're ready to do any more than to listen to the commission on any potential concerns that there may be out there, and to then move forward and address the staff comments and the peer review comments. As I said before, I do have the applicant and the wetland scientist here with me, and they will raise their hands if they need to say anything at this time. And then if they don't have anything to add, we'd like to go back through the chair and see if we have any more comments from commissioners or any members of the public.
Okay, I don't see anyone raising their hands. Megan, do you have anything to add at this point?
Sure. So I'll just add to confirm that, yes, there was an order of conditions for parking lot improvements in 2008. And part of that order of conditions in that plan of record did show an approximately 7,800 square foot restoration area, which was approximately the 25-foot buffer zone along the northern edge of the property line. And accompanying that on the plan, there was a written narrative that included excavation of fill and a substantial planting plan, along with the already proposed removal of trash and reseeding. So I think given that in the years since then, it looks like there's been additional filling and storage and clearing done, particularly in the northwestern corner, and then sort of right to the left of the detention basin. It looks like recently they've gone in there and pushed some fill around. So there's some piles of dirt up to the bank and some piles of other landscaping debris. So I think then at minimum, we would be looking at that same area of restoration. Again, at minimum, I think we should be looking at restoring the 25-foot buffer along the northern property line. And again, having it both shown on the plan and then having that accompanying narrative explaining that the fill needs to be excavated and the planting plan that will go in there in its place.
Okay. So, let's see. David, you mentioned that a study was done. Sounds like to determine what steps the owner might take to make this property more marketable. I have two questions. So, and you also said that it is currently leased. That lease is coming up for renewal?
That is my understanding, and I have Pete Cameron with Marcus Partners here, and if I speak out of turn, he will quickly correct me, but I believe the lease is coming up in the fall, and repositioning the building for the market is what the owners want to do to make sure that they can attract the tenants that are out there currently.
So the plan isn't to continue with the lease with the current lessor?
Could be. It could be if the building was more attractive to that particular tenant, but what we know as of now is the tenant has a new home already.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Just using this as extra space.
Yeah.
And I think.
So I'd like to know better, because you talked about better loading and area and docks, but what you have are 41 trailer spaces.
Yep.
And my question is, that would indicate that the plan is to store 41 trailers at the site at any given point in time.
Potentially up to 41 trailers. So trailer storage is important to a lot of modern warehouse buildings, and they like to have it right across from the loading docks. So they're not quite as, there's more trailers. I think they're spaced out at 12 feet on up there. The loading docks are, I think, 14 or so.
All right, I'm going to ask a question of our secretary, who has been with the planning department for a number of years. Pam, does trailer storage trigger any kind of use restriction?
You're talking about just storing trailers on site?
They would only be stored specific to the uses associated with the loading docks. They're not going to market trailer storage for.
No, but they would, yeah. Check with zoning.
Let me hop in here just so that, because I want to make sure that everybody sort of understands.
And again, could you identify yourself for the record, just so that if anyone is watching, they.
Sorry, so Pete Cameron from Marcus Partners, just as we're the owner of the building. Just as a way of background, we bought the building maybe I guess a year and a half or 2 years ago. The existing tenant is in there. They sublease that little yard space up at the top to a landscaper, but it's a company called 47 Brands is the main tenant. They're moving to a building that they own in Bridgewater once a tenant moves out of the way, so that they can be in one building where they own, just as way of background. The trailers we're referencing are it's either van or the detached trailer parking for the trucks that are loading in there while, trucks are sort of moving around and loading and switching and loading up and moving out. So it isn't intended to be, it's just the back of an 18-wheeler while trucks are moving in and reloading and picking up and loading from the building. So it isn't like a separate use or anything like that. It's just ancillary to the primary use.
So you would potentially have, you have 41 spaces. So there is likely to be 41 trailers at any one point in time that are being loaded or unloaded?
Could be. Over a course of a day, depending on who the tenant is, what you see is, in today's e-commerce world is there's a lot more customization of these shipments, as we all sort of want deliveries, done to us right away, and or as for this building and sort of in specific, it's a building that has always been a little bit, because it hasn't had proper loading, it's a building that's always been a little bit sort of depressed in value. And I think that the addition of all this loading and trailer storage would enable us to sort of reinvest in it and bring it up, a little bit more to attract, slightly higher quality and better behaving tenants. And those tenants are, typically relatively active in their loading zones, and whether those are box trucks while 18-wheelers are loading things into the building, and then the box truck pulls up and pull those away, or whether those are actual trailers, we're not quite sure yet. I'd say I'm seeing an equal amount of that in my buildings, whether the trailer spaces are taken with box trucks for that last mile delivery piece, or if they are taken with sort of, empty trailers or trailers that are being loaded up. But for 300,000 square foot building, that's not a significant portion based on sort of what like a first class standard is now. In planning, you'd want something like 80 trailers for a building this size. We just don't have, it's just don't have the room for it. It's the building's slightly the wrong shape.
Mm-hmm. The one concern that really comes to mind from a conservation commission and wetlands protection standpoint is just what kind of materials are going to be, and I know you probably can't answer this right now, but might be stored in those trailers in the proximity to the wetlands, and if there's any potential for release.
So I'm not the technical person, but I would sort of hope that within our stormwater package, and maybe David, you can speak to that, what type of protection do we provide in terms of the drainage infrastructure. Maybe you can sort of speak to that a little bit. If it makes sense.
Yeah, so where the trailers are is kind of, everything will be graded back. I'm just gonna use my cursor again here. Everything gets graded back toward the loading docks where we'll have two trench drain systems. Then we'll have, those will be followed by proprietary water quality devices, and then followed by routing it to the existing, there's a small stormwater pond there now, or we are also proposing some subsurface retention systems as well. And then the water would then be just discharged back toward the drainage swale. So as far as what's in the trucks, I mean, most of the things that we see in a building like this and the sizes like this is mostly dry goods and type of things for delivery to everybody's homes.
Well, if the commission issues an order of conditions at some point, that may be something to consider for our conditions.
I think it's more than reasonable to request that the applicant, when they get a tenant, revisit with the commission to give them an update on any particular uses.
Yeah.
Make sure that the safeguards get into the construction plan. So if there's anything that comes up, I think that we'd be willing to revisit it with the commission, because it's an appropriate comment if we have toxic materials or something that we have coming here.
Right. And Megan, I don't know if you want to bring that to Beta's attention, just as they're continuing their review of the stormwater system.
Yes, I can give them an update after this meeting about our discussion.
Great.
And
All right.
And I think we'd be willing to accept a condition to bring the commission up to speed as they move toward obtaining a tenant, thinking about getting building permits to renovate the building at those times that we'll know what the people want to store in the building, which then we'll know what they want to be in the trucks as well.
Okay. Megan, and I have another question. The originally required restoration plan, was it a detailed plan? Did it have planting material identified?
Yes, so it is, if you go in the Google Drive for this, there's a subfolder that says 2008 order of conditions, and in there I've attached the approved site plan that shows the area, the 7,800 square foot area where the restoration was going to take place. And then there was also the written narrative that was several pages detailing the fill excavation and the plantings, how many and where they were to be placed. So yes, that was what was approved and required in 2008, but because the project didn't go forward, the restoration buffer didn't go forward either.
Okay. All right. I don't have
Madam
any
Chair, can
Yes.
I just want to go back to the trailers for a second. So I think the issue is probably their wording, not, what they're going to do, because the wording looks like they're going to be storing trailers there, which would mean overnight. Not that trailers would be, trucks and trailers would be going in and out as the day. And that does make a difference.
From the zoning standpoint.
Right.
So
just to follow up on that, we did a comprehensive zoning review, looked at all the uses and things like that. We didn't see prohibition on providing trailer parking. I mean, maybe you're right. Our use as storage is different, but it's to park the trailer. It's a place to park trailers.
Well, it sounds like.
Correct. To load and unload.
Yeah. Well, if the semi driver can't stay around until there's an open dock position, they put it in the trailer parking, and they move on, and then.
Correct. But I think it's that the way the explanation is, it sounds like you could have storage tractor trailers parked there without the cabs, waiting, just left there.
Yeah,
My-
that is what I'm here, and I think that is what Mr. Mackwell said. That you could have a driver, he's not going to wait if the dock is full. He's gonna drop the trailer, move on, and then at some point, someone else at some time is going to come and pick up the trailer.
Well,
So
all the,
that could be overnight.
it could be, but usually these, the logistics people that work in the facilities, they kind of work all that before we start sending anything in and out. So, to follow up on question at the beginning, other than the environmental concerns, is we didn't find any need for any zoning permits to expand the pavement and convert the pavement and to add the loading docks.
There is none.
Right.
There is none. It's the.
Yeah, we determined the
So
same
The
thing.
overnight.
So I don't want to get caught up on a zoning issue because that's not the commission's purview. But I think maybe that it might be worth just checking in with the planning office, Mr. Mackwell, and making sure that what you're considering is an allowed use. You wouldn't want to go through all this work if that wasn't. It sounds like you may have done your due diligence, but just as a follow-up. So at this point, do any of the commissioners have any other questions, comments, concerns?
I think you can, because it's.
Okay, seeing none, when would you like to continue to?
Well, why don't we, I kind of overheard that you're going to have a full agenda on the 16th. I don't know if we'll be ready for that, but I think maybe we could stick it on there. And then if we're not in position to move forward or the agenda gets,
I'll talk to him tomorrow about it.
we would be agreeable to continue.
But you're absolutely
Well, but if we can get it all worked out and make it easy for everybody, maybe we can leave it for now. What are we on the 19th? So it's a month away.
The 16th, okay. Do I have a motion to continue the hearing to June 16th?
We're ready to start. So in other words.
Sparks here. I make a motion to continue 132 Campanelli to June 16th.
Do I have a second?
Where's your second?
All in favor, Danielson, aye?
Sparks, aye.
Boris, aye?
Equal I.
Motion passes. We'll see you on the
you know, you have to
16th
drive around today.
or in the following month.
I had one more question for the commission and the agent is, we work with Phil Paradis and Beta Group.
I'm sorry, David. Someone has some background noise going on. Could they please mute?
Sounds like it worked out okay.
That's better.
We work with Phil Paradis and Beta Group on many projects throughout the Commonwealth. And we did get stormwater review. And we wanted to just mention to the commission and see if it's okay for us to have a dialogue with Beta Group.
Directly?
Or have a Zoom meeting with them too.
So you can work,
Yeah.
we're fine with that.
Okay.
We're
I just
fine with that.
We wanted to make sure that was okay with the commission.
Megan, I can't see you, but you don't have any problem with that, do you?
No, it's pretty,
Standard.
it happens before, usually after the first meeting. If there's questions, we open it up to Beta and the consulting engineer to help make those revisions before the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda are meeting minutes from 4/21. Does anyone have any changes or corrections? I think, let's see, did I have some? There were, Pam, I just had some, if I can find them again. There were some typos. But other than that, I thought they were fine.
I don't think I was able to open it. It said that I didn't have permission. So I have not.
Oh, that happened to me the last time.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it says you cannot open or something, so.
Yeah,
Really?
been 5 minutes.
It's just got a little icon of a lock in place of the actual document.
Okay, interesting.
That's odd.
Let's see.
Well, maybe when they're ready to go around, rather than having Pam share them with the folder that I don't believe everyone has access to automatically, if Pam wants to have me put it in your folder, that way you already have access to that whole folder. So if it's in that folder, it shouldn't stop you.
Oh yeah, because where it's located is the problem. Like, I don't
Yeah,
have
so it
permissions to
might
location.
be, though I did
Weird.
check these ones and it had you guys shared, but it was shared with your Concom.
Oh, so you know what? I'm looking at it, like I've got it hovered over and it says it's a word shortcut. So it's a shortcut link to the original. So it's literally linking directly to the original.
Right, so that's what I've been doing is Pam shares it from her folder and I just add a shortcut, but I believe Pam adds your Concom Gmail
Yeah.
as permissions, so you should be able to see them. I think I checked today that the original does have your Concom Gmails shared on it.
Oh, that's probably why, because I haven't been able to log on to that on this computer. So if I was on my tablet, I'd be able to see it then. Very well.
Yeah.
I can do that. I can do that prior to getting into Zoom then, because I'm on my computer. So very well, I can work around.
Pam, one correction. So this is on page 2 and it's about midway down. You have the paragraph starts homeowner Barry Smith. And then the third sentence down, well, actually in the second sentence, the applicant asked if Megan asked for one meeting to meet Megan out at the site. And then it said, she said she is familiar with the site. She said that the point, I think it would, I don't know. When I
Megan.
first read it, if it could just say Megan.
Megan, okay.
Yeah, yeah, that was a little confusing, like who's she? And then, I don't know which, it looks like the next to the last page. In the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph starts with Daniel Sieber. You have they received, oh, never mind, it is correct. They received the received comments from Beta. I thought it was a typo, it's not. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from April 21st?
Sparks here. I make a motion to accept the minutes from April 21st.
Do I have a second?
For a second,
All in favor, Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
for a second.
Clara.
Motion passes. Our next meeting is the 16th. The governor is opening everything up on the 29th and has announced that the state of emergency will end on the 15th. I know this has been a conversation of discussion in Easton as to the resumption, is that the word?
I can't hear you, Stephanie.
At all?
I can hear you.
Okay,
I can hear now.
okay. I'll continue. Can you hear me, Bonnie?
Yeah, you just came back in.
Okay. Anyway, once the emergency order is lifted, there is no legal framework to allow remote meetings. So I think we need to think about that and plan for that. I don't know, Pam and Megan, what conversations are happening at City Hall.
We are open as of June 1st, we are told.
Okay. Okay, so what I have to ask of the commissioners, I mean, I am fully vaccinated. A lot of people are fully vaccinated and are getting comfortable with meeting. Again, there is legislation that's before that is before the legislature that would allow remote participation to continue going forward. I was part of the committee that advanced that. But that still needs to be worked out as how that will work. So but it's nowhere near being implemented. So if you have concerns, I'm guessing that we are going to have to meet unless the governor issues some other kind of order, probably a temporary order that would allow the continuation of remote participation. But if you have concerns about that, if you could just let us know and we can talk about it and try to work it out.
Stephanie,
Joyce?
I'll be on vacation that week in Utah, so I won't be able to be at the meeting. I'm going to actually be on a river, so with canoes and tents. So it's not, I'm not even gonna have access to cell phone towers.
Well, I was gonna say, even if you could, I would not expect you to participate.
Oh, yeah, I'm actually not here either. That's an unfortunate timing. I'm going to be in West Virginia.
All right.
So I will probably have internet though.
But again, I don't know that we can, that's a big question mark right now. So we'll keep our eyes on that. And then
To make quorum, are they allowed? Because they used to be something years back that allowed somebody to participate.
No.
I mean, I know it's, once it's lifted and the state of emergency's gone.
Right. And
I actually had this discussion today about that meeting.
I'm sorry, you and who?
Megan.
Oh, yeah. So, well, anyway, what we'll need to do is ensure we have at least me, Laura, Andrew, or, well, wait a minute, we're now a 6-member
Need
board,
4.
right?
Mhm.
So we need 4, so we'll,
Joanne?
the 4 of us, Joanne, yeah. So Megan or Pam, if you could just send something out to confirm that, at least the rest of us all can participate.
Mhm.
I'm just double checking my calendar now.
Are the meetings generally held at City Hall, right?
Yes,
Which
in the GAR.
GAR.
Does City Hall, like, are there air filters in the rooms and?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. All over the place. Rooms in the hallways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No, this is just
I
a
have
reminder.
something from Meg. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would say this is just a reminder for Megan about that, that building that I reported to you.
Yes, I will go take a look again at 82 Ames Street. They had received the RDA. It was just the +2 confirming the floodplain on the site. So technically it didn't, give them the go ahead to do anything, but it sounds like they might be doing.
The gentleman that I spoke to said that they're working on the weekends, and that's why he was very upset, because he says they're not supposed to be doing it. So I don't know, I haven't been there, but you're the person who would.
Yeah, I can take a look, and again, they shouldn't be building anything without filing, because even though we didn't, technically the determination only confirmed that there was floodplain on the site. So really, it wasn't a -1. We didn't say that there's no jurisdictional areas on the site. So technically, we can go back and issue an enforcement order if they're doing work and say that, you don't have a determination saying that there's not jurisdictional areas. There are. So if they are doing work, I can send out the enforcement order to be ratified at the next meeting, and they will have to file for whatever it is they are now planning to do out there.
Was
Well,
that?
it's
of
an
the
empty site. They have to file for site review anyway, so.
Was the purpose of that RDA to confirm resource areas?
They were aiming for the -1 to say that there were no jurisdictional areas.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't give them the -1 because whether or not the drainage channel was jurisdictional, definitely the floodplain is.
Yeah.
Which is why we didn't grant them the -1.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was just because I know, and I think you can still do this. You can confirm a wetland line with an RDA, which I really don't like that process at all. But speaking of enforcement, 675 Summer Street was redeveloped. It's 2 house lots that were one front faces right on Summer Street, the other one set back. It was a larger parcel. It's been built for probably over 10 years now, maybe longer. They've always had a drainage problem there, but it was single family homes, each their own lots. It wasn't a subdivision, so it didn't trigger any kind of subdivision. Today, and I meant to call you, Megan, because I saw the markings when I was riding home a couple days ago. So I knew that the DPW was probably up to something. And sure enough, they were out there today and they have done work. I have pictures. That is a wetland system right across the street. And I'm sure that wetland extends because it drops off a bit. So it's very likely they were at a minimum in the 100-foot buffer zone.
Right,
So-
okay, I see. So they're working on 675 Summer Street, but the thought is because there's that Summer Street wetland system across Summer Street. It's
No, what they did is, and I think they put a drain in because what I saw,
okay.
there was saw cut and fill and I don't know if it was temporary paving or not. I think it was just fill at this point by the time I headed home. Across the road. So clearly they dug down, they were doing something and they installed the pipe because you can see the pipe, it's daylighted. I have pictures of it, I'll send you.
Okay, so they put a pipe in the city-owned parcel.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they in the road, yes. And then, yeah, and it's quite large, actually, now that I think of it it's large.
Okay, yeah, so I will have to check in then. Presumably, we think it was DPW then, the city, not someone working.
Actually, it was because I drove by this morning. I rode by this morning and they had it blocked off. And I forgot to call you and say, So let's see, I can probably show you on my phone. No, you're not going to be able to see it, but I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And the pipe, yeah. So they definitely installed a pipe that discharges into off onto the property. I don't think it's discharging directly into the wetland. I think that's the buffer zone, but then it drops off and yeah, so.
Okay, yeah, so I'll look into both of those.
Yeah.
This week.
Maybe the pipe isn't as big as I thought it was. I was on my bike and trying not to get hit by cars while I was taking the pictures. All right, motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Danielson, aye.
Sparks, aye.
Forsythe?
Blair.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.